Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from my van down by the river. Well, I would like to say this. My friend Svali said it would go down this way. Who is my friend Svali? Well, when I knew her, her name wasn't Svali. I won't share with you her actual name, her Christian name. When I knew her, she attended my church. She was just a soccer mom. But she would go on to be a whistleblower on the Illuminati, whose statements can still be seen all over the internet with people picking them apart. And before all of that, before she became Svali, when she was just freshly breaking away and fighting her husband, who was in law enforcement, over custody of their children, she was attending my church, and she confided in me. And I listened to her talk for 4 hours one day on this topic, which at the time, quite frankly, just came off as absolute insanity. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it for a minute, and I thought she was just a crazy person that had been listening to too much shortwave radio. This was in the early days of the internet. So I kind of thought like that people in the conspiracy world were more from the shortwave world, and now we live on the internet. I'm one of us. I'm one of them too, But I just thought she had the tinfoil hat, and she needed to get on some meds or something, and that was my opinion of her, to tell you the truth, if I'm being 100% honest. I didn't believe any of it. Till about a year ago. And about a year ago, I started waking up. I got woke. Like many of you. And, about a year or 2 years ago, right before I started this channel, I started thinking, about the things that she told me they were planning to do. You see, she claimed to be this generational member of the Illuminati who was breaking away. And, she told me in detail. Well, because I asked. I'm the kind of guy that asked. That's one of the things that makes my video, I Met an MK Ultra Trainer. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. It's my #1 most popular video with 750,000 views. That's what made my video different, is that I asked a question of her that others, I don't think, thought to ask her. And I asked her, what is the end game? Where are they going with this? Okay, so they're building an army of super soldiers. Okay, so they're building this army of mind control slaves that they can turn into sleeper cells that they can turn on and off when they want to. Okay, what's the end game? And she told me, and you can see this in my previous video as well, but I'll just kind of recap what she said, was that an event, or more likely a series of events, would occur that would destabilize things so completely that we would just naturally accept whoever popped up that seemed like they were in charge. Because, real authority will be absent for a period of time, and there will be chaos. This is according to Svali from decades ago. My kids who are grown now were little kids back then. Her little kids she was fighting over are men and women now, that was in her family. So, it was a while ago, she was telling me that this would happen, and it would be so bad that people would just look to whoever looked like they were in authority. So it would be easy for them. And so I asked her, I said, okay, but what about the police? And she said, well, the ones that we don't already have, because, her husband was in law enforcement. And so she knew firsthand how many people in law enforcement are actually members of the Illuminati. That it's been infiltrated to a great degree. And so she said for those that remained that they couldn't buy off, that they couldn't blackmail, that they couldn't scare into submission, well, the ones that were on board, along with their super soldiers and sleeper cells and all that, would just crush them. She said, but honestly, most of them, even the ones who took the money, even the ones who signed off on it, even the ones who were on our side, on their side, she said, even those people who are in bed with the Illuminati, as far as law enforcement are concerned, would probably just stay home. They just wouldn't get involved. They would just not show up to work. And it got me thinking, and I've seen some other prepper videos where people talk about what law enforcement might and might not do in the event that the defecated material hits the proverbial rotating blade, also known as SFT, I don't know, something SHTF, that's it. Well, world without rule of law is another thing that they call that. And so that means that, for some reason, there's no law enforcement. And it's because they might stay home. It reminds me of hurricane footage, and I believe it was in Katrina, where a police officer was seen actually looting alongside the looters during that emergency, that he was more concerned about his own family and his own well-being, and to him, being a police officer was just a job. Now, I'll agree there's some true believers in the law enforcement community. There's some people that didn't drink the Kool-Aid and or take the money, that didn't take the bribe. There are some people in law enforcement that are legit, for sure. But most of them, in the situation where there are events or a series of events that cause lawlessness and chaos, they're more likely to retreat to their own homestead and take care of their own family and their own extended family. But there'll be a few that do show up for work in this situation. But don't expect them to be patrolling around trying to keep order. Don't expect them building perimeters and trying... No, I think the ones that do show up will feel the responsibility to protect the armory within the police department. And that those that are true believers, that don't just stay home, they might fight the Illuminati if they came to claim those weapons, but they probably wouldn't even bother. They have their own. So you might find a cop or two on the job, but they're going to be controlling the armory. If you are a watcher of The Walking Dead, then you know that one of the first things Rick did when he woke up from his coma was go straight to the police office and, the police station and acquire weapons from the armory. That he felt an obligation, like, okay, there's guns loose. So I think if there are true believer, good cops out there, they'll be more concerned with protecting the police force and its station than they will be in patrolling and or trying to even answer calls that probably won't be coming anyway because the communication grid will be down. So what is the event or events that my friend Svali warned me about? She didn't get into specifics. I did ask, and she goes, the events don't really matter. It could be one event, it could be a lot of events. She said maybe it's a huge explosion or a nuclear attack. Maybe it's, an EMP or a grid down. And or maybe it's just civil unrest and riots. Maybe it's a civil war in America. And you know what? The event or events will be different for every country, but it'll all kind of culminate together into one fiery mess. And in the ashes, a phoenix will arise of the New World Order, ran by the Illuminati, and these people will just emerge on the streets in black SUVs with tactical gear, offering the people of America and every other country some semblance of normalcy after a period of time where there has been nothing but chaos and fear. Is this the future of the United States and the world? At the time, I did not believe her. At the time, I thought she was, how do they say down in Texas? A taco or two short of a combination plate. I did not believe her. It was entertaining to me. In the back of my mind, I heard the warnings from old Uncle Fred, my tinfoil hat uncle, who used to convince me that there was a new world order attempting to be forced on the earth. And I believed him to some degree, and her to a much lesser degree. But in retrospect, I think they both were right. We're facing something that's different than anything we've ever faced before. I'm myself not sure what to believe. If you're a follower of this channel, you know that I look at every conspiracy theory with skepticism. And I don't believe in a whole lot of things. But I believe in one thing. I know in whom I believe. And I am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I've committed unto him until that day. God save us all.